Okay, so welcome to this lesson on the next lesson in ICT Future Thinking, looking at facial recognition today. We're just going to have a quick look at what it is, how it works, and how it's going to change the world, okay? Because it is going to change the world. It's going to be a huge, huge issue over the next 10, 20 years. As you grow older, this is going to be transformative. It really is. I know that teachers, especially ICT teachers, say that a lot about a lot of stuff, but this is going to change things a lot. So before we get started, do your numeracy task and your literacy task here as ever on the front page. Today's keyword is facial recognition, and there's a think question for you down there as well. Right, facial recognition, what is it, right? It is a technology that lets computers use cameras to identify you from your face. Now, for people, that's not particularly impressive. We do that every single day. Your friend walks into the room, you know it's your friend because you know that that's what your friend looks like. She hasn't even got to open her mouth, and you know that's my friend. That's her face, 100% sure. Yeah. And humans have got a great ability of remembering faces. Okay. Mine personally is terrible, which is not very good for a teacher. But you know, you can see someone from. You might not have seen them for 10 years, and you might see them and think, hang on, I know that guy. And you remember, the face triggers a memory, and your brain says, hey, I know that guy. That guy's Steve. Yeah, I know him. And then you go and introduce yourself again, right? We're going to give that ability to computers. But of course, computers, in many ways, are better than us. Yeah, computers are more powerful than us in some ways, because we've only got 2 eyes, and they're stuck in our body. But a computer could have access to 1,000 different CCTV cameras, all spread over the same city, meaning that they could spot you anywhere automatically. And not only can they then identify you, but all that information they can draw up about you. So here's me walking around, here's my face. CCTV with facial recognition spots me straight away. They're going to know who I am, where I live, what my job is, or any information they've got on me. It can go one step further, and from the videos you're going to watch in this class, you'll hear this. Facial recognition software can even read your emotions. So it might see me and say, oh, he looks pretty angry today. I wonder what's wrong with him. And that could trigger all kinds of things. If it was a police officer and he saw me, and the facial recognition says he looks angry today, maybe the police will be more worried about what I might do. If a shopping company knows that maybe I look hungry, God, that guy looks pretty hungry, let's try and sell him some food. And the adverts I see on my phone or around the city as I walk might change to try and convince me to go and buy their food. If I look happy, people that are happy like to spend money. So I might see adverts for more expensive products. I'm in a good mood, I'm going to spend some money. Whatever, right? These are the sorts of things that technology can do. So have a go at the literacy and numeracy questions as ever. Right, so this is basically what I've just been saying. Facial recognition works with CCTV to identify people. It's got a lot better. This is the thing. One of the videos you're going to watch is from 2015. Let me show you this video here. It's from 2015. I put a little note by the side of it. In it, he says that technology is not quite there yet. It's not quite perfect, but it's kind of working in the right. It's getting there. Well, this is 5 years on to the future. You might be watching this 6, 7 years into the future, and the technology has got a lot better. So, yeah, and this has become a new thing pretty quick. Like I said, this is going to transform the world that you're going to grow up into. ICT teachers say that a lot, but this really will transform things. So it's going to be used for everything from policing to shopping to healthcare, right? In China, you'll see in one of the videos, if you do the challenge activity, there's a video all about how this is used in China. In some Chinese shops now, you can pay for things just by looking at them, right? You don't need a credit card. You don't need your fingerprint. You don't need anything. You just need your face. Yeah, it scans your face, you're in. You've probably had this at airports. If you're flying into some countries, they have facial recognition cameras. You're told to stand still, aren't you, and look at a certain point, open your eyes, and I'll take a picture of you, and then the computer will compare that picture with the picture they've got of you on record, and then it'll determine if you are that person, and that's your identity. And if you've got a visa for that country or you're a citizen of that country, they'll let you in. And if you haven't, they'll ask you questions, right? So these are the sorts of things it can be used for. So shopping, to policing, which we're going to come to, and healthcare as well. Okay, so we're going to look at how these things are going to change the world. Just I'll give you one quick example. Okay. Before you watch the video. So basically the tasks are, you watch this video and answer those questions. Watch that video and answer those questions. And then there's a stretch question. So today's lesson really is just 3 videos, but these are the best ways, I think, of getting to grips with this topic. But before we get on to that, there's a question to do at the end here. Before we get on to that, we're just going to talk about one quick example, which is an example I've always liked to explain and to tell in my lessons for quite a few years now. But this story itself is getting a little bit outdated because the technology can do so much more than this now. But one of the first instances of a company using facial recognition in the United Kingdom, which is where I'm from, was one of the big petrol station companies, gas companies that sold petrol or your gas for the cars that you drive. What would happen is you'd walk into their stores to pay for the petrol and buy whatever else you need, and they'd have adverts on screens around the shop which would change based on who you were. So if there was no one in the shop, the adverts would just be running like generic, normal adverts until I walked in. As soon as I walked in on CCTV, the computer would say, hey, look, we've got this new guy in the shop. He is a middle-aged male, right? What does a middle-aged male at about 1 p.m. want to buy? I don't know, maybe a coffee. There'll be an algorithm that says people like that at that time want to buy this. And so maybe I'll suddenly see screens and offers for coffee. Hey, buy our coffee, best coffee in the road. Best petrol station coffee you're ever going to get. 10% off, 20% off, whatever, right? Buy it with a donut, right? And all these promotions, and I'll start to see, and I'll think, oh, okay, maybe I want to do that. But those adverts are based exclusively on me. If the people in the shop changed, so say a bus shows up full of old age pensioners on a day trip, and 20 old age women trot into the shop, the computer will suddenly say, whoa, hang on a minute, now our audience has changed. We've now got lots of old age women. And so we should change the adverts to try and convince them to buy whatever it is they want, And so the algorithm will get to work, right? 1 p.m., old age women, what are they going to want to buy? Werther's Originals, right? I don't know. Whatever it is that they might want to buy. So the adverts will change. So that was the story I liked to tell about how you could use facial recognition in the real world. But technology has got so much better now. The only reason they stopped at that point was because the technology was only good enough to not to identify who I was, but to identify roughly who I was, which was a middle-aged male. They couldn't go any further than that. Now they can go a lot better, a lot further than that. So your challenges today: watch this video, answer those questions, please. Okay, you can write them down, screenshot them, send them in, whatever it is that your teachers asked for. Watch this video up to 7 minutes only. Okay, it's 9 minutes and 40 seconds long. I'm doing you a favor. Just watch the first 7 minutes. That's all you need to know. Okay, it's fascinating. It talks about how you can take a picture now and search for the picture of that person's face. Search for them online. So before, if you knew someone's name, say you were looking for Brad Pitt, you'd have to type in Brad Pitt and you'd get pictures of Brad Pitt. Now you can take a picture of Brad Pitt, put that into the search engine and say, who is it? And then you get that guy's name come up. That's huge, right? Imagine your picture appears in a newspaper. You're just in the background. Look at this picture here. Yeah, imagine you're just this guy or this guy or this guy. You don't even intend to be on it. Maybe you're on television. You're in the background. You're going to a football match. You're going to a tennis game. You're walking down the street and there is a film crew filming. You've probably all seen it. But you're in the background. You just walk by. You're that guy in the background who goes and just stares at the background, right? Just for a split second. That's enough for someone to take a screenshot, take your face, take it on the internet, find out who you are and any information that they can about you. That's scary. That's quite dangerous. That's huge. So we're going to look, learn more about that. There's an optional challenge task kit. This one's about China. You can read through this, watch through this one if you wish, because the way that China are doing it is on a bigger scale right now than anybody else. And there's issues here about how they're using it to increase the power of their government. Now, that could be good in certain situations, okay? But it might also be bad in others. Think about the recent COVID-19 crisis, okay? People are saying that countries like South Korea and China have dealt with this better than many of the countries in the West. We need to wait for all the data to come out and be truthful and honest and blah, blah, blah. We need to see what's really going on. But there probably is some truth in what they're saying, and part of that is probably down to the use of technology. So think about it. If there was a future pandemic and I've got the disease and they know my face, perhaps I won't even be allowed in the shop. I'll be walking towards a shop and the CCTV will go, that's him, he's got the disease, and a security guard will step up and say, no, you cannot come in, or whatever. Yeah. Or if I do go in, I might get a text on my phone that says you've now broken the quarantine. You're going to get a fine for however much money that might be. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, so it's fascinating stuff. So you can use it for good purposes, but you can also use it for bad purposes. Okay. What if a government had a particular dislike for a particular group of people and wanted to use this technology to prevent that group of people from doing the things that they should be allowed to do? So it's, like all technologies, it can be used for good and it can be used for bad. So we need to discuss both sides of that. And then just to finish this lesson, I want you to think about how the future might change if you can combine facial recognition technology with augmented reality glasses, like Google Glass, which doesn't exist anymore. They tried to make something called Google Glass and they've shelved it because it costs too much money. But in the future, imagine you do wear a pair of glasses. My glasses aren't here, but imagine you're wearing a pair of glasses and that it lets you, when you see, look at the pictures here, you see someone's face, it might automatically tell you what their name is and give you a link to their Facebook information or their Facebook page. You could have a screen like this where you see someone's face and just in front of you, you get all this other information about how happy they are, how sad they are at that particular moment. Okay, so that could be huge. I want you to think about how could this transform policing in the future? And then all kinds of stuff. A lot of this technology comes from video games. A lot of the way this could be used comes from video games. I want you to think about a game like Call of Duty or Fortnite or something like this, a game where you're running around in a multiplayer mode. And think about this. This is one thing that blows my mind that may well occur in the future. Think about those sorts of games. You're playing that game and you can see on a little map, can't you? In the little corner of the screen, you can see where your allies are, sometimes where the bad guys are. But you can, normally it's like, these are the people on your team. The red team, you can see all the red dots on the little map. And then, as you're walking around, you might see a little floating red image, maybe behind a building, that shows where your allies are, where the other people on your team are. Imagine that in real life. You're walking down the road and there's buildings either side of you, but using geographic data combined with the AR stuff, you're going to see a little red dot walking behind a building, and it's going to come up with that's my friend. So you're going to know where your friend is. You're going to be able to see them. You're going to be able to see through buildings using this sort of technology. And then that's just Google Glass linking to geographic data. But what if you could use it to do the facial recognition stuff as well? Introducing yourself would be so strange. Normally you have to say, hey, I'm Steve. Who are you? But now you wouldn't have to do that. You'd be like, hi, I'm Steve. You know I'm Steve because my name is floating above my head. And you're Karen. I know your name's Karen because I can see that your name is floating above your head. And I can also see all of your information from Facebook at exactly the same time. So it's going to change the world. So I want you to think about how this is going to work. Okay. So that is the lesson. When you finish, have a go at this quiz up here too. Hope that helps. And enjoy your privacy whilst you still have it.